Have you guys ever noticed nearly every single big YouTuber ends up buying a Porsche 911? Like, every single one. Well, I did, and it got me thinking, why is this? What's so special about this spicy Volkswagen Beetle? Well, I'm determined to find out by hatching a plan to steal one. So allow me to introduce the victim, my good friend, Rich Rebuilds, a small YouTuber with 1.4 measly subscribers. And when I say good friend, I mean a guy who has perfected the phrase,
"Hey Andy, quick question for you."
Only sees me when he needs something fixed, something my fellow IT guys can relate to, and always seems to find the best parking spot. Now, I'm not the type of friend to steal upwards of $180,000 on a whim, but after my last experience with Rich, my mind was made up. I'm not sure with the water damage. Oh God.
Hello.
Yeah, I'll be right with you.
I need something printed right now. I need something printed right now.
I'm kind of busy right now.
It doesn't matter. This is national security. Drop what you're doing. This is your highest priority.
Okay, all right, well, what do you need to print?
What's your Wi-Fi password?
What, for the printer?
There is no time for this. This is national security.
All right, dude, but I have to charge you for this because I'm tired of doing stuff for free. I've done so much for free.
Payment?
You already owe me like 50 bucks. That ink is expensive. The fuck? Once my rage subsided and I reviewed the surveillance footage before DARPA confiscated it, I realized Rich pulled up in his 2016 911 Turbo S, which meant it was now or never. So later that week, I shoot him a text saying I was on break and could help him for free if he needed anything. And before I could even finish typing the word free, Facebook password. This isn't the first time I've been greeted with an IT question, so I hit him with buzzwords I learned from offering IT to the elderly for 10 years. Oh, your car must be wiping the cookies when you connect to Bluetooth. I'll need to see your keys and your phone. And just like that, Rich resigned to his fate, and I'm gonna see what all the fuss is about with this upper-class midlife crisis mobile. Right after I get this toothbrush out that's stuck between the seat. Now, this isn't gonna be a typical car review with me rapid-firing specs and numbers at you and comparing it to a supercar that neither of us will probably ever see, let alone drive. This is gonna be about my personal journey as a normal dude in a super machine that I've concluded is, in fact, the greatest sports car that's ever lived. And not just because it attracts cougars and goes, but because it's comfortable, reliable, and most of all, incredibly practical. So let me start by getting the obvious out of the way. Yes, it's fast. But what's the point of having a car that can do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds and 170 miles per hour when the speed limit in the city is 30 and the roads are actively trying to kill you? That's what always bugged me about sports cars. They're impractical to drive in the city, especially here up north where the potholes are deeper than the void in your heart after your wife left you for her boyfriend. So when I was confronted with roads that were more battle-scarred than my back after your mother and I had saxophone lessons, I was expecting to feel the pain, and I didn't at all. Despite my cursing and pleading that I don't actually damage this car, it handled these war-torn roads like a champ. And that's even after Rich dropped it an inch. But the real test was the notorious Route 114, a major road that has major holes, bumps, lumps, and a random tree in the right lane. I've bent 2 rims and blew a strut on this road 10 years ago, and it's only gotten worse. But to the 911, it was nothing. In fact, I didn't even want to stop driving because of just how comfortable it was. So I hopped on the highway and started heading towards Boston.
Turn left on Park Drive.
Oh, driving in Boston, babe! Which coincidentally led me to the Lars Anderson Museum, the exact same place Rich was celebrating the release of his book, Going Fast and Fixing Things. A good read that helped me survive many dumps. Now, upon arrival, I was questioned about the license plate, which I had to explain simply meant Hockey Nights in Seattle, which was just as believable as assuming every single car you see was actually here for Rich, and that this many people would stand in line just to get their book signed. Huh. Well, after making contact from a distance, he begged me to at least get the oil changed, because in true Rich Rebuilds fashion, this $180,000 marvel of the finest German engineering has some maintenance items that have been neglected. But he assured me it was already paid for, so being the nice guy that I am, and as a favor to compensate him for Grand Theft Auto, I volunteered to take it, because what better way to truly experience what it's like owning a Porsche than by joining a dozen middle-aged white men all adhering to a dress code I wasn't told about, trapped in a waiting room having their wife's Cayennes and Maycans serviced for a noise that's probably been happening for months, but they were only told about yesterday. Now, there aren't many situations where I feel out of place, but when you look like a base model Beetle on a lot full of GT3s, you start to feel a type of way. This place is like if Yacht Rock had a dealership, and I'm here for a trash can drum circle. And though a single pinch of seasoning would knock the dockers off this bunch, damn, is this place gorgeous. But how naive I am that I thought an oil change would be 30 minutes, not 2 hours. I thought rich people's time was invaluable, but it turns out they're just impatient. Assessing the situation, I began to notice a few things. Why is the Taycan turbo when there's no turbo? How much do you think this urinal costs? Does it have turbo? Is that coffee free? And after 6,000 milligrams of caffeine later, I can attest it is. Finally, time to sign off on the prepaid invoice. Rich, you son of a bitch. Making sure to get my money's worth before I leave BlackRock's shareholder conference, I grip and dip souvenirs before heading to my shop to offset this economic injustice. Now that my wallet has healed a bit, it's time to do some emotional healing after I trauma dump some personal details on all you kind people, while handing the keys over to my father, a man who's lived in poverty his entire life, beat cancer twice, and yet still somehow managed to raise me while dealing with my mentally disabled brother and physically disabled mother, who he now takes care of in her later stages of dementia. A battle that put him in the hospital with congestive heart failure 6 months before this was filmed, and shortly before that, losing his mother on Mother's Day. So it's been a rough year. And I think having him drive a car that's worth more than every dollar he's ever made is a pretty good way to have a few rare moments of relaxation. Or a heart attack, but hopefully just relaxation. Now I'm sharing all this personal stuff to highlight just how significant an experience this was for both of us. And if you're not a car person, you simply won't understand. But I can't tell you the last time I saw my dad smile like this. And to be honest with you, I got a little emotional after I dropped him off. Because behind the YouTube curtain, where everything is jokes and banter, shit is kinda rough. But seeing his face light up as he whipped over the Beverly Bridge like he was playing Gran Turismo 4 and tapped these insanely sensitive brakes a little too hard is something I'll never forget. And that's the thing about cars that non-car people just can't understand. For us, money does buy happiness, because happiness has wheels and makes loud noises. Happiness for us is the feeling of being one with something you built or earned, and in this case, stole. It's the reason so many of us have emotional connections with our vehicles and look back on past cars like exes that broke our heart. They are there to help us get through the rough days, and sometimes causing them. But they're also there to bring us to good times, like picking up your mother to engage in coitus. Because it's not about the car, it's about what we can do with it. And I genuinely feel bad for those that see a vehicle as just another tool. So why is the 911 so special if all cars are special? Well, if this were Rich's McLaren, there's no way my dad would feel comfortable enough to drive it. If it were a Kia Soul, he would have disowned me. The 911 is so special because it's the perfect balance of sports car and daily driver. It evokes emotion without sacrificing practicality. It doesn't draw too much attention like a Lambo or McLaren. It's insanely fast without being unmanageable or impractical, which is nice when you live in a potholed city that's clogged to the tits with traffic 24/7, hence the lack of footage of me really stretching its legs. The all-wheel drive is amazing for snow and for a go, and even after being dropped an inch, it's so comfortable, I don't mind taking an hour-long trip through the depths of pothole hell to deliver my friend's laptop that I just fixed. Even if it begins to downpour on the way back, because if it breaks, well, I don't have to shell out stupid money to fix it like if it were a Ferrari. But most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, it has 105,000 miles and drove like it had 0 miles. I've had cars mechanically totaled at less than 70,000 miles, and I just couldn't believe it when I looked down and saw that number. I had to focus to see if I was actually missing a decimal somewhere. And I've driven many cars, and the closest thing to this level of power and comfort at this high mileage that I've experienced would be the LC 500. But the LC has about 100 horsepower less, so it lacks the kick that these twin spinny boys have. So to wrap it up, my dream car growing up was a 2001 Dodge Viper GTS. And if you're around my age, you know the one. Blue with white stripes. And you know what? It still is my dream car. But knowing I'll never be able to afford one, the 911 is my obtainable dream car. And jokes aside, having this car for just a few days gave me memories that will last for the rest of my life. And that's why people buy these. And I want to sincerely thank Rich for making this happen. You're my good friend for a reason, and I promise I'll take care of your Fisker when you bring it in for an update.
All right, let's look at this invoice. This is actually kind of a lot of money, but this is the price of doing business. Not seeing anything so far of a difference, really. Everything looks about the same. What?
The greatest technician that's ever lived. And that's that. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so and let me know if you want to see more of these videos. If you are subscribed, feel free to become a member if you want to support me directly. Everything helps, and I appreciate you either way. And speaking of members, shout out to the greatest supporters that ever lived. There's actually so many of you now, I can't even read your names out loud anymore because it'll take me 10 minutes, but here's your 1 second of fame in all its glory. You guys are the best, and I'll see you next week.